quick thank you to our sponsors for making this podcast possible. They keep this show free to listen to. Does connected parenting feel confusing? What do I do in this situation? How do I handle that issue? Let me help you make more sense of it all in my 30-day challenge. We meet for 4 weeks of group coaching, and you get access to all of the Peace in Parenting online materials, my entire Connected Parent Mastermind. Plus, we give you access to our school community. I help you get more connected and jumpstart your parenting in this 30-day challenge. So go to the show notes and sign up, and I'll see you there. Hi, I'm Michelle, a mother of 2 teens. 13 years ago, I traded in punishments and rewards for connection. Now I prioritize relationship over behaviors, utilize play as a parenting tool, and set limits with empathy instead of consequences. Each week, I share my journey and interview clients, experts, and followers. Thanks for joining me on the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome to the Peace in Parenting podcast. I'm Michelle, and I have Leah McDermott here who is going to talk to us all about unschooling and her journey into this world. And welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So give us a little background about yourself. Where did you start in this journey? And you have kids yourself, yes?
I have three boys. Yep.
Okay, great. So where did you start in this unschooling journey, or what precipitated it? What was the
catalyst? Yeah. I started in public school as a child, as most of us did, due to necessity, just because of my father was in the military. We moved a lot. The schools at the time when I was in middle school actually told my parents to homeschool me because there was not enough resources. The school was too small. So I was a homeschooled child in the early 90s, where not a lot of people did it then, unless it was, very religious or something like that. So even though I was homeschooled, it was very, very strict, very rigid. We had a classroom at home. We had the red pens, the stuff on the wall. Yeah. So naturally, as a high achiever, grades came easy to me. I went straight to school to be a teacher, got 2 master's degrees in education, went all in on, being the teacher person. And I started teaching in kindergarten classrooms. And in kindergarten, they are curious and creative, and they believe in magic, and they want to learn things and engage in things and do crafts and activities. And so, there was still the heartstrings of, I want to be home with mom. But in general, they were ready to learn and absorb information.
Yeah.
And after a few years in kindergarten, my district shifted us around, and I started working in 5th grade instead. They moved me from K to 5. And that first day of 5th grade was like the first light bulb turned on for me, because all of a sudden, none of them wanted to be there anymore. They didn't want to read, write, learn, create. No, it was like literally the light was gone in their eyes. And it was just such a revelation of what have we done? What did we do? In 5 years, they don't care anymore. They don't want to learn what's going on here. And so I spent a few years teaching in 5th grade and just trying to change from within. And then I got pregnant with my oldest, who's now almost 14. And that was the second light bulb, because I knew I was never going to put him in that system. I wasn't going to let that happen to my child. And then I realized I was just a perpetuator of this, because no matter what good I thought I was doing, I was still a part of this system that was draining all of that from our children. So I left the classrooms and I stayed home with my son. And as he got to about preschool age, all of those kind of fears for me started, those societal fears of, okay, well, if I'm going to homeschool, I have to do it this certain way, and I have to have a curriculum, and I have to do it the way the school is doing it, because, we have all this conditioning, it's the only way that it's going to work.
Right.
And I started doing some research into curriculums and homeschooling curriculums, and everything I found was just an exact replication of what I had been doing in the classrooms, just at home. And I was like, well, then I'm just the bully again, but now I'm his mom and the bully. So I don't want to do that.
So this is the same journey I had in parenting.
Yeah, exactly. It's just this conditioning. We just do it because it's what was done to us, and we don't even think about it being another way.
Mm-hmm.
being a gentle parent was also a big catalyst with that. Like, okay, I'm parenting him this way. Why don't I see learning exactly just as an extension of that? So I started just writing down the things I was naturally doing with him, which turned into the curriculum that I have, which is very holistic and child led. And so that's, what we did. My kids are now 13, 10, and 3. And they've never been in school. They've never done a worksheet. They've just lived and traveled and explored. And just getting to see that unfold is so amazing.
Oh my God, makes my heart like feel happy inside. As I sent my kids to private Catholic school, which is
Right.
opposite.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Wow.
just, I know so many people think, well, that's an easy thing to do when they're little. But once they get to high school, they have to do all these things. They have to take these classes. And what I've noticed is, my son, like I said, he's 8th grade and all of his friends are older than him. And the conversations that they have and the things that they're doing, I just see it as the older he gets, the more beneficial it is.
Yeah.
Because he's not, his friends will say, why are we taking this stupid class? They already know, right? I'm never going to use this. This is so boring. This is such a waste of my time. And all the things that matter, my son, he can figure them out. He knows the answers. They're doing things in real life. They can't wait to get out of school to be with him, to do the things that he's doing, which are real life things. And it's just, it's been quite a journey.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I'm jealous, 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 jealous. Oh, wow. Okay. What do you find are the hardest parts of having an unschooling family?
I think for me, it's just there's been no difference. It's the way we've always chosen to live. But from the conversations that I have with families that I work with, I think 2 of the things are, number one is being together all the time. I don't think we know how to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And, this society is just built on, and this with the parenting world, right? As soon as the baby's born, they want to take it away. Sleep in a separate room, sleep in a separate bed. Like we separate immediately, go back to work, baby goes to daycare. And that's just, we don't know how to be together and we don't build lives together. It's weekends, evenings when we're rushed getting ready for the next work day, school day.
We talk a lot about that. I'm doing certification right now, certifying people to be coaches. And we talk a lot about like, this world isn't meant for a connection, connected parenting. It's not meant for us to connect. It's meant to separate us. And we're fighting tooth and nail to get connected to our kids. And school is a big part of what disconnects us.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the biggest thing. And everything that I teach, that's what it all comes back to. So crossover here, like it's just connection. That's all it is. And that's also how we understand how they learn. That's how we know what they're learning, what they're interested in. The more connected your relationship is with your kids, the easier all of this becomes. And you can just shed it, which the second hard thing then is the mindset of like, what has society made us think about learning? What do we know and believe about how we learn and how different that is from reality and what's, developmentally appropriate?
I think too, fear, I see, there's so many parallels, like I'm having all these light bulbs, but, with connected parenting, we fear if we don't give them the punishments, if we don't give them, the consequences, if we don't teach them all the things, then they won't be prepared for the real world. And I think maybe that same fear comes up for people in unschooling, like, oh, if I don't have the tests and if I don't teach to the curriculum, then they're not going to be prepared for the real world. But what real world are we preparing them for?
Totally. And that question becomes a bigger question every new day as technology advances faster than we could imagine. Like 10 years ago, there was a study that said in 20 years, so we're halfway through this already, in 20 years, 80% of jobs will be done by robots. And that is just faster and truer every single day now with AI.
That came out this last week is like propelled us into that beyond all recognition, really.
Exactly. And yet the school system is still, nothing has changed. The content's still the same. The trajectory is still the same. It's still built for leaving and getting a factory job or an office job. And none of those, they won't even be real anymore. Those won't even exist. They already kind of don't. So if your kids are in that system, they're certainly not being prepared. And even just today, the top employers in the world, like Google, they're looking for people who are good communicators, creative problem solvers, outside the box thinkers. They don't care what test scores were, regurgitating information. It's not even realistic anymore.
The old bosses that everyone's so scared of. Well, what are you going to do when your boss says X? Those bosses aren't existing anymore. That's not a reality. We're not putting up with that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unless
Absolutely.
you're doing very menial work. And let us hope that we prepared our kids not to have to do that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Amazing.
We're hitting pause for a moment to thank our sponsors. These brands make sure you can listen to this podcast for free. Struggling with weight makes parenting even more difficult. But like getting help in our parenting, there's also help to regulate our weight. Mochi Health takes a holistic approach to weight loss that includes visits with board-certified doctors, nutrition consultants, and even science-backed GLP-1 medications like Ozempic delivered to your door. Mochi Health offers affordable and accessible support regardless of insurance coverage. With Mochi, their dietitians work hand in hand with your medication to create personalized nutrition plans that fit your lifestyle so you can reach your weight loss goals. They offer guidance from real doctors and registered dietitians, making easy and sustainable changes to achieve results. To get started, go to joinmochi.com, and when you use code PEACE, you will receive $40 off. Go to joinmochi.com and use code PEACE for your $40 discount today.
My book, Unpunished, is finally here. It is my journey into connected parenting, the idea of perfection and how it nearly took me down as a mom. I give you my best thinking around how to be a connected parent and the insights that I've discovered over the last 12 years of this incredible journey. I'm giving my book away for free, plus shipping and handling. So go to unpunished.com and get yours today. We're shipping domestically and we're also shipping internationally.
Thanks for supporting our sponsors. Now back to the show.
So tell me, what do you do? What's your job?
What's my job? Mom first.
Yes.
Yeah. So my business is Your Natural Learner, which is where I just support, homeschooling parents or people that are on that journey. So through that, there's curriculum and workshops and programs and stuff like that. But then 3 years ago, I started Bridge Academy, which what started that was I've always kind of had this like vision of a bridge in the back of my mind, which is strange. But I lived in a state where homeschooling regulations were very light. You had to tell them that's what you were doing. You wrote a letter to the district and that was it. Nobody ever checked in again. And then we moved to a state with a lot more regulations. There was more paperwork. There was more like looking over your shoulder. And as an educator, that came easy to me. I was like, okay, fine, whatever, I'll make it up. But then I realized what a hurdle that would be to a parent who didn't have that background, didn't know how to fill out the paperwork, what to do. And there's states way stricter than where I live.
Oh, geez.
So that's when this idea came of like, okay, what can I create that acts as a bridge for parents who really do just want to live life with their kids, lean into their interests and passions and talents, but are living somewhere where those regulations matter, or they have that fear of, well, what if my kid does want to go to college and they do need transcripts of some kind? They do need that official paperwork saying that they've learned something. And so that's what Bridge Academy does. We are a private school for homeschoolers and unschoolers, so that everything you're doing, you share that with us. That it becomes real life academic credit.
I love it. That is so good because it makes higher education accessible for those who choose that route, because it is still so. They're talking about now, I've just recently was on a cohort where they're talking about doing a new transcript in many of these independent schools where it is, a video project. It is a essay sample. It is a passion project sample where they're really trying to say like the old transcripts are outdated and they've put a lot of money and thought into really updating things. So I hope things are going that way and we don't have this.
Yeah. For all of the negatives, the pandemic really opened a lot of eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And, homeschooling and online schooling, alternative education is growing. Like never in my life did I think I'd pick an occupation that could survive a global pandemic. And I woke up one morning and the whole world was homeschooling, like, okay. everybody's going to get a taste, and then everyone's going to start to see. I had a consult call with a mom the other day from Ontario, Canada, and she said, it's crazy. I've been homeschooling for years, and I used to go to the park when school was in session and there'd be nobody there. We'd have it to ourselves. And now it's full. It's like it's still summer break. Like everyone is changing their minds about this. And it's a ripple effect. It's just that I think it's part of parenting. It's part of just society in general. We don't want to go to the office all day. We can be just as productive at home when we get to be with our kids. Like it's just this amazing shift.
It really is. I see the same thing in parenting. I mean, when the pandemic hit, everyone was like, I need help with my parenting. Oh, you're online. Amazing. Great. Let's do this. And, where it wasn't like that before. And I think this parenting with connection, what I do and what you do, I feel like it melds so lovely together because it just is all about creating that connection and being able to be in your home with your child all the time because you have the tools to do that.
Yes.
It isn't easy. It really isn't because we're not wired that way. We didn't grow up that way.
Yep. Yeah, it's a total shift of everything we believe. And that, every mom I talk to, every parent I talk to, it all comes back to that. Every time they're like, oh, well, I can't teach them. I can't be a teacher. I can't be with them all day. All those resistance. 99% of the time, it's us that has to do the work. It's not, and I'm sure you find the same in your work. Like the kids know, like they know how to just keep being kids and they're curious and they want to learn things and they want to, explore the world the way they should. It's our conditioning and our beliefs and our mindset that we really have to heal from. And, with parenting, it's those childhood wounds of how were we treated? How were we made to feel? What did we feel about our parents? And that crossover with educational trauma then too, how were we made to feel about learning and how, who we were as learners, how capable we were.
Yeah. And I see so much of it based in fear, just so much. Society has instilled so much fear in us that we're messing our kids up. We're not doing it right. The baby isn't sleeping through the night. They're not, potty trained. We're pushing them through. There's this whole thing called the rushed child that we're just pushing them through their developmental stages too quickly because we're so obsessed with having them achieve and having them do and having them, perform that we're not really listening to the kids' development. And I think unschooling is just the opposite of that. It just really leans into where the child is developmentally and that they get to choose where they go, which is lovely.
Yeah. And it's based in connection, but also in trust. Just an inherent trust that your child is capable and able and curious and figure it out. Especially now we live in a world where all the information is in a rectangle. Just teach them how to learn, how to find information.
And with AI now, you just ask AI and they tell you, it's literally, we're there. A robot is telling you, and they know, they're smart. They've said the new AI is the PhD level. They know they're that intelligent. It's insane. It really is insane. I think connected parenting too, to draw one other parallel, is that we really believe in trusting the child to make the mistakes, to learn from those mistakes, to lean into their inner guilt and shame, and not to have to rely on external, manipulations to teach the child. But we know they'll learn. They will get there because they're smart beings, and we don't have to manipulate them into learning morality.
Yeah. And the same is true for information and other things. And honestly, what we know scientifically, what we know about the brain and memory and learning, when we have motivation and context and we learn it faster, deeper, and a more meaningful level than someone just telling me that I'm supposed to know it or making
100%. I see that with my coaching, my certification folks who really want to be there. They're eating the information up as if it was just being poured from a gold trough or something, because they want to be there. And then I see my daughter taking algebra and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, really? We're doing that? She's struggling. And it's why?
Yeah. For what purpose? Yep.
No idea.
Great, amazing mindset shift. And I think it is scary because it's different like anything else. And just like with parenting, especially if you come from a home where that was not the norm, there's going to be judgment on you making different choices, which is really challenging. And, learning how to set those boundaries for yourself and your family is very important, just like with with gentle parenting and
100%. It's all they're all too similar, very similar. And I feel like you almost, now a day and age, like if I had to do it over again, I would totally unschool my kids. And now I see like, it's so much better if you can do them together.
oh my gosh, yes.
If you can meld those two, then the skies part and the angels come out and they sing and you're like, yes.
And the most beautiful thing is getting to see, like being on the other side of that now, having, an almost fully independent little adult running around, like how much he's willing to stick up for himself, how easily he will voice his opinion, regardless of who's in the room and who's listening, like setting boundaries for himself, being a leader when it's necessary, a follower when it's necessary, like just that confidence they develop in themselves because you've created that safe space for them.
Yeah.
As a parent, as a guide, as a teacher, it's just, they're going to change the world. It's really amazing.
They really are. They're not going to put up with the world as it stands. They really aren't. I see that with my 18-year-old. She's like, she will not engage with folks who are in the slightest going to belittle or manipulate or treat her in a way that she's not used to being treated.
Mm-hmm.
And it's lovely to watch because I was not that kid. I was respecting my elders and going to my classroom and regurgitating information and, doing as I was told because that's what we were expected to do. And they're not.
Yeah. Yep. It's very freeing to see.
Yeah. Where can we find you?
Your Natural Learner is the best place to go. Instagram is where I hang out the most. Bridge Academy is also where I spend time. But yeah.
Okay, great. All you people who are into unschooling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming and sharing your story. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for making the time for me.
Of course. Thanks for joining us on the Peace and Parenting podcast. I'm so glad you're here and we will chat next time.
A quick thank you to our sponsors for making this podcast possible. They keep this show free to listen to.
Freedom and flexibility. That's what you want in a healthcare plan. And with Humana's Medicare Advantage PPO plans, you can see any doctor in the country who accepts Medicare, including specialists, with no referrals needed. Plus, you can go in and out of network for the same copay for doctor's visits. Learn more at gethumana.com. Humana, a more human way to healthcare. Humana is a Medicare Advantage PPO organization with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in any Humana plan depends on contract renewal.